Many people know Boeing for their commercial planes. However, many may not know that the world's largest aerospace company also sells military aircraft, helicopters, missiles, space vehicles, and satellites to the US military and NASA. But Boeing didn't get there overnight. It was founded back in 1916 by William Boeing, the son of a rich industrialist. Because the company was founded during World War I, they were able to rapidly scale production, selling planes to the US military. However, after the war, demand fell and Boeing had to adapt in order to stay afloat. That is why in the 1920s, they worked to include airline flights in their business model of aircraft manufacturing. Starting in 1928, they began buying out competitors. And in 1931, they merged several small airlines to create what is now known as United Airlines. But their success in the airline industry didn't last long. In 1934, Congress ordered Boeing to be broken up into three separate companies: Boeing, United Aircraft, and United Airlines. Only after several years of struggle and innovation, Boeing was able to regain control in aircraft manufacturing. It pioneered the way for larger commercial airliners, such as the Boeing 307 Stratliner with the first pressurized cabin, and in the late 50s, the Boeing 707, which allowed for the first transatlantic flight from New York to Paris. And then on January 2nd, 1962, Boeing went public on the New York Stock Exchange at around 82 cents per share adjusted for splits. Since going public, Boeing stock has completed 8 stock splits on 5 different occasions, and it has been paying quarterly dividends ever since its IPO. In the 90s, Boeing bought out its biggest competitor, McDonnell Douglas, for over $13 billion in stock. This cemented its place as the world's largest aerospace company at the time. But fast forward to today, and Boeing faces competition on all fronts, by Airbus, Lockheed Martin, and even SpaceX. 2019 was the first time in recent years that Boeing failed to make a profit. This had a lot to do with their failures with their new 737 MAX passenger airliner, which killed 346 people in 2 fatal crashes. While they still made over $76 billion of revenue and only lost $636 million, their timing couldn't have been worse. In Q1 of 2020, because of the pandemic, flights were grounded and people stopped traveling. This plummeted demand, and in order to stay afloat, Boeing had to sell $25 billion in bonds. And while Boeing has made it through some hard times before, it will now have to pay $1.2 billion a year in interest expenses. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see if this makes or breaks Boeing, and if they will be able to recover from this pandemic.